Julianne Nicholson we saw in episode 1 arguing with Cal addresses a crowd gathered in an aviation hangar at the start of episode 2, which takes place 12 years before the events of the premiere. She accepts that the people in attendance are the leading experts in their disciplines and apologizes for the numerous non-disclosure agreements they were required to sign. The reason you're in this room is because you're very special. As she ushers them out to board an aircraft, she says firmly but compassionately, and you're about to be entrusted with something massive. One of the professionals proves to be an extremely anxious pilot on the aircraft. To distract him, the woman sits next to him and talks. Since he is a city architect, she questions whether he could design a 25,000-person city that feels like anywhere, U.S.A, and is immune to nuclear or climate disaster. He claims that's not feasible, mostly because the city would essentially need to be underground and there is no way to excavate the vast amount of room required. Gamely, she nods and responds, "That's what I've been told." Following the plane's landing, the passengers willingly place their bags over their heads and are driven in an SUV into a mountainside excavation. The entryway is surrounded by a large number of construction vehicles. The guests' cars are followed into the mountain by a helicopter, which just keeps flying past them. At that point, we understand that the woman has already located the city's location, a huge stretch of land cut out of the ground beneath the mountain. The woman addresses the astonished architect, saying, "Build me my city." We receive a brief picture of the neighborhood as Xavier tries to decipher the meaning of the cigarette's numbers and the woman, Samantha Redmond, struggles to write Cal's eulogy. It's been around for 3 years. Following the incident that led to their arrival, Cal, the president before everything happened, consented to prolong his tenure. Everybody wears wristbands for identification, payment, and other purposes. The community feels like a pleasant version of the Truman Show. Agents Pace and Robinson are in the kitchen as Xavier gets dressed and comes downstairs after waking up from a nightmare about his wife, who was reportedly on the phone when the bad thing occurred. Robinson is in charge of the murder investigation, and Xavier angrily points out that she is unquestionably the woman we saw leaving the president's bedroom on the CCTV camera as soon as she gives him the order to go with her to the car. It also seems to us that these two were not particularly fond of one another prior to the murder. She responds that although she has an alibi for the murderous night, there isn't a prime suspect or weapon at this time, and the autopsy is scheduled for the next day. After the first murder, down here, she accuses him of acting strangely and detesting the president. Why did he wait 30 minutes to report it in? The absence of Bradford's tablet is also concerning. She cautions, very important people are upset. They have inquiries. Samantha, meanwhile, enters a room full of, presumably, powerful men and declares that they will inform the world that Cal died of natural causes, so no one would be aware that he was murdered. The males go crazy. "Calm down," she says to them. She then exits the room and meets Dr. Gabriella Tarabi, played by Sarah Shahi in Person of Interest, with whom she observes Xavier being questioned down the hallway. A lie detector is attached to him, and he is questioned extensively about the morning he discovered Cal dead. Gabriella intervenes at one point. She introduces herself as Xavier's, once, and Cal's therapist before standing right in front of him, but not on camera. She opens her palm and asks, "Is there a part of you that is glad Cal is dead?" Only Cal can see the words, "Say yes," scrawled on it. He follows instructions. Samantha claims she believes Gabriella is telling the truth when they are back together. We find out that Samantha's code name is Sinatra, and that everyone always seems to follow her instructions when she questions Xavier. He says he doesn't have the tablet when she asks him directly. She then instructs him to leave this alone and places him on leave for 2 weeks. Although there are many flashbacks involving Samantha in this episode, and Julianne Nicholson is amazing in every one of them, I'll summarize them here for our purposes. Samantha, a software entrepreneur, became the richest self-made woman in the world after selling her startup and meeting her husband, T.U.C. Watkins, One Life to Live. A few years later, after having a boy and a girl, their son Dylan inexplicably passed out while riding a mechanical pony outside the grocery store while they were shopping. Samantha met Cal, a senator at the time, at a financial gathering a year later. At a session that was attended by very few people, they both warned that a tsunami would eventually submerge the whole U.S. eastern seaboard. Cal politely inquired on her well-being following Dylan's passing after the conversation. She acknowledged that she had been plucking out her hair and was getting bald as a result of the compassion, which almost brought her down. We find out that his father called him one of the renowned crooners hangers-on, and that Cal's father calls Samantha Sinatra, because she was the one that everyone wanted to see. As soon as the scientist who spoke Samantha halted him by shouting, "What do we do?" as he passed them. "Dig the biggest hole you can, and get in," he said. The vice president, who is now the commander-in-chief, announces Cal's death at an emergency meeting attended by the entire community. However, Jeremy, the president's teenage son, isn't there. Instead, he's in the library, enjoying the music his father loved from the 1980s and 1990s. Presley, Xavier's daughter, discovers him there. Despite the fact that they don't appear to be close friends, he tells her that he battled with Cal the last time they spoke and that he feels terrible about it. When he lets her hair starship, "I get what I wanted, please let it be, we built this city," I write in my notes. Billy is asked by Xavier at the arena if he is aware of any 6-digit codes that are significant down here. Pace doesn't. Then, Xavier confides in his pal that he believes Samantha/Sinatra is planning something. She is the most significant individual in their town, Billy reminds him. "Yes," Xavier replies, "and I'm going to defeat her." Later, at home, Xavier burns the cigarette with the numbers on it. Xavier's first task at the beginning of episode 3 is to unexpectedly arrive at Gabriella's house. He thinks, "Why did you tell me to say yes?" during the interrogation. After later acknowledging that Sinatra and the billionaires might have bugged her office, she asks him to go for a stroll with her right away. She reveals that just before he passed away, Cal was worn out and heavy. "Last week, something happened," she says. She dodges Xavier's question regarding the lie detector exam, though. "Describe your relationship with your father for me." She wonders, "Why did you two stop talking?" We first encounter Xavier's father, Glyn Turman, a different world, a commercial aircraft pilot, through a sequence of flashbacks. When we first see them together, Xavier is telling his dad that he's going to be a grandfather. They usually meet at airports because of Xavier's dad's work schedule. It's evident from the years that the two men get along well and are easygoing and affectionate with one another. Until Xavier finds out his father has Parkinson's disease, which he hasn't told the airline about. As a result, he files the documents informing his father that he is retiring, which has a very chilly impact on their relationship. After their argument, Xavier informs Gabriella that his father passed away shortly after the illness's rapid progression. The president was hit hard on the head several times, according to his autopsy, and it will take some time for the DNA findings from under his fingernails to come back. Samantha is making Agent Robinson attempt to figure out who paused the cameras on the night of the murder, while Jane is freaking out over at the president's house. Billy reassures her and gives her a kiss, but this doesn't actually make her feel any better. And for good reason. Samantha asks Jane and Billy, "Why did you two shut down the cameras the night of the murder?" when she calls them together with Agent Robinson. When Billy refuses to listen to Jane's whispers to notify their supervisors, she exclaims, "We were playing we." Now that the truth is out, Jane begins to sing like a canary about all the other things they did while the cameras were not there, like trying on the commander-in-chief's socks and eating candy from the president's junk drawer. Samantha exclaims, "My God, you absolute idiots," and tells them to leave before threatening to replace Robinson if she is unable to identify Cal's killer. Gabriella's day spent strolling around with Xavier also reveals a lot about her. She contributed to the planning of their future city's psychological features. According to her, "I like to think of myself as the architect of social well-being." She A. promotes the vegan cheese fries at the restaurant while having lunch at the diner, and B. mentions that everyone lost something in the incident that forced them to move. "My wife was not lost. I am fully aware of her location. Because he failed to get her to a goddamned plane, she died while in a foreign city," Xavier informs her, Gabriella notes that it was a difficult thing to accomplish as they talk about the steps Xavier took to ensure the safety of his father and everyone on his father's aircraft. With simplicity, Xavier responds, "It's the way he wired me." She chooses to tell him what she knows, seemingly content with the strength of his moral compass. First, because she picked him, Xavier appears in Humanity, the reboot. She claims, "I chose everyone, which is why they are here." According to a flashback, Gabriella recommended Xavier to be Cal's new head agent, and the president accepted her recommendation. "If something went wrong, I needed the person who would do the right thing, no matter what," she continues, referring to Xavier as her wild card. Have I mentioned that there are strangely erotic overtones in this conversation? He asks her again what the message on her hand was about. She gives him a kiss as their faces come closer and closer. "I am married," he declares. "I understand," she says. Then, when they enter her house, they continue kissing. She silences him as he begins to pose a question. She sits on his lap and whispers in his ear, "I have a message from the president," as they undress and enter the shower. "I should find you if something were to happen to you," he remarked. "Billy Pace is hazardous," he said. At that moment, Billy is seen driving up to Xavier's house while carrying a rifle in the passenger seat. Presley is likely wondering where her father is at this late hour as she looks out the window. Billy, too? He does appear to be a very frightening person. Thanks for watching. For more updates stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel please.